Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Call you
Call
sponsor.
your
Call you
sponsor.
sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your.
So what is there a tool or solution or practice, not, of course, look at me looking for a tool and solution already, besides actually sitting in a feeling, that has been helpful for you?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I do identify with toxic masculinity. I don't know why that I grew up as an only child with a single mom, and just become so bent on self-sufficiency and not being vulnerable and not showing weakness. But that's how I go through. And I too need a feelings wheel that goes with me. But the tool that I'm using right now is self-talk and self-care. To Chicago recently and was super aware, and I went by myself, and it was a trip for me because I've just always loved people from Chicago, and I just wanted to check out the city and check out the vibe and see if everything in my head made up was true. And it was. I was like, all those people are my people. I'm just in love with Chicago. Winters, I've heard, are terrible. Anyways, I digress. Back to, I'm going through the airport and I'm feeling that I'm wanting everyone to think of me as a certain way, and that I'm concerned if I'm in people's way, or I'm concerned if they're judging me, or I'm concerned if I'm just thinking of what all these people in an airport are thinking of me. And I'm like, this is you trying to find an identity of who you are by scanning other people. And there's no there. So can we get in our body and go from here in self-acceptance and first of all, they're not thinking about you. They're having the same conversation in their heads about themselves. And second of all, so what if they are? So I was going through like, okay, baby girl, like it's time to wash your hands now. Okay, baby girl, it's okay that your, suitcase was blocking that woman. You moved it. You weren't rude. It's okay. You were just very rude to that man. Like you can make an amends. That's always an option. Like just very much having this inner non-judgmental, approving parent, I guess.
What I love about this is that there is like a break in the sound current, right? So I think like energy, sound current, right? Like, so my brain has that consistent narrative. It's a beautifully intoxicating, well-crafted story, right? Me versus the world. I call that Planet Sam. Everyone's revolving around me.
Right.
And what I'm hearing you say is your practice is self-talk, which for me is any kind of talking is a form of prayer. Like worrying is even I heard worrying is praying for what I don't want. And what you're doing is the prayer or your practice of communicating to you is love, tenderness, care, compassion, which I'm not used to.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah. And that's part of what's unfamiliar will become familiar, and what's familiar will become unfamiliar, because doing this type of practice has felt silly, wrong, stupid, everything, until it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it's like the contempt prior to investigation. You're investigating, you're experimenting, and you're getting results.
I'm getting results because at a certain point, now a lot of that was on the way to Chicago, flying through Denver airport, layover, the whole bit. But on the way back, I noticed I'm jamming out to what I'm listening to. I'm, moving my hips in the mirror as I'm trying to adjust my hair. And I am being me, and I am not looking these people's eyes. I'm not scanning them. They're going to have to tell me to move out of the way. Like I am in me, and they have to advocate for themselves if I'm in their way.
That's beautiful. You were like a whole person and it sounds like you were embodied versus in your brain.
Yes.
You're present.
Yes. And there's so much of that if you've grown up your whole lives, like scanning other people for your safety, security, and well-being and worthiness. It just feels wrong. It just feels like I'm doing something wrong and selfish when it's so obvious from how easy everything was that can't be the case.
You're in the flow and you're feeling it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, remember when I've been the last few weeks, like I am in it, ask me anything it went away. It definitely
went away.
Yeah.
No, stop. I legit, something happened this week and I was like going to bring it here. And I was like, is this the appropriate time? Well, I'm just going to bring it and maybe we're going to open that portal up again. I don't know.
Please.
So I was eating outside with a fellow, and there was a woman on the other side of the planter, probably like 10, 15 feet away. And she was doing a conference call, like a Zoom, without headphones. So I was literally subject to her entire call. She hijacked that whole area of the sidewalk because I was subject to listening to her and anyone else on that Zoom talk about the cabinetry. It was an interior project and all of these things. And I knew everything from the issue they were having with whatever screw and all of these things. And I literally was beside myself. I couldn't in that moment. I mean, there were certain things like I thought of throwing the glass of water over the planter so it would hit her. And I didn't do that. So that I thought was a win. I thought about taking the utensils and also throwing them, but I thought, and I didn't. So that was the thought and action. There was a separation. I didn't do it. I did raise my voice really loudly, thinking that maybe she would get the points, but that never really happens that way.
Right.
I thought about going to ask her, to come up from behind the planter and then like come up on the screen over her shoulder so everyone in the call would also see me on their screen, asking her if she could take it down a notch. My one friend thought about maybe giving this woman their headset so that she could maybe just have a one-way call and we wouldn't be subject to the entire call. I ended up not doing anything, but just really having a very animated, louder conversation about this woman with the person I was with. And then also I pulled in the server into that conversation.
Get some validation in there.
So in speaking about surrender, right? Like I know that I have various boundaries and or thoughts of what should and should not be happening. She should not be doing a conference call on the sidewalk right outside a restaurant on the other side of a planter where I'm trying to enjoy a meal. And so for me, I guess I don't know, what are you seeing here? Like, is it spotted? You got it? Is that me that I'm like totally disregarding everyone else? I'm in my own little world. Like, I don't really know what that is. I think there is that part of me that is like, they're so inconsiderate. And that is, I think, one of my things that gets underneath my skin of like, this is really inconsiderate.
Yeah, 100% it's inconsiderate. And you spot it, you got it means that you have self-awareness of other people and it's what we've talked about before where you keep it on level 2 where you're thinking of other people and how they would be enjoying a meal while you're doing a Zoom call, and she's doing it on level 11.
Yes.
So you spot it, you got it, just means we have a kernel of it in us.
Yep.
And that it doesn't mean that, you know, you would do that same situation.
I like to do like rewind the tape. Like if I were to rewind the tape, like I'm just not sure if I would do anything differently. I realized I could have moved my table, which she was perfectly planted in the center. So regardless what table I would go to, her sound current would go there. And we purposely didn't sit inside because it was actually a lot louder inside. So it's like we couldn't get away from sound.
Well, my question would be,
yes,
if you threw the drink over the wall, can you love yourself with that action?
That's difficult.
So it's like taking the most extreme choice.
Yeah.
And can I be kind and loving and allow myself to think of that as an option? And then the least extreme choice, which is just putting up with it and having your conversation more muted so that she can be okay. And looking at both of those and being kind and loving and gentle, and can I do those? And then maybe the equanimity, which is gossiping with the waiter and complaining about it with your friend, you know, and being a little bit loud. Like, who cares? Because the bottom line is she was inappropriate. And it goes back to that thing, which is I can't take my shirt off so that she can wear one. Like, that's not okay. And sometimes I feel like in the program, it's taught to people to be, you know, just kind and just accepting and just loving, but also of ourselves. And it's not okay for me to take my shirt off so that you can wear one, lady. Like, that's inappropriate. It's not okay. You know, I personally, looking at it from a third party perspective, if I were in my whole self, could I go over there and go, we're trying to have a conversation and your Zoom meeting is impeding upon that. Do you want to make another decision?
See, I think that's ninja.
I mean,
that dawned on.
No, that is ninja. That's ninja. Like I'm saying, from the third party looking at it through this lens, not being there. But in the moment, I would lean more towards throwing the drink over the green thing.
Yeah, I was in that fight flight. I was in that survival mode. Part of it, and I just was like, but now that we're talking about this, and thanks for talking about this with me, is like, I also think that that's a distraction because I actually am not clear with what I was actually feeling at the moment. I just didn't want her there.
Nice.
But that's what I'm feeling.
That's really good. Well, it's somebody being extremely selfish in this human landscape, and it's hard not to ignore.
Yeah.
Like, all of us are going through, and we're trying somewhat to there's certain social norms that we're all trying to follow. And when somebody else is blatantly not following it, it is a root off the red nose point and distraction. But I'm going to validate that it is.
Up to our final 5. Do you want to? Do you want me to?
You are question. Yeah.
I'm questions. Okay, so I've got a lot of questions because
good.
I'm curious. What is something? Oh, okay. So let me just preface this and say, I heard recently on some spiritual thing that all of these things show up in my life so that it actually gives me more clarity. Both sides of it. If I label it good or bad, they're there to give me clarity on what I really want and what I really value.
Well, that's good. What's the question?
So my question is, what is something that you are getting clarity on?
But this is so good and so pertinent because part of this internal, kind, non-judgmental dialogue that I'm embarking on and being a loving parent, a lot of the ACA stuff is going where the love is, like having my true North Compass go where and I don't want to say, it's not like where I'm respected. That doesn't do it because that's ego, right? It's more about where it's safe or loving. And sometimes safe and loving looks like people being able to tell you in a kind, loving way what doesn't work for them. Like, true north doesn't mean everyone loves and appreciates me. True north means I'm going where I'm growing, but it also feels good.
Ooh, going where I'm growing. Oh,
Yes. Oh, queen. Hello,
that's
t-shirts.
so good.
Hello, merch.
Hello, March. Go where you grow, girl.
Go where you grow. Yeah. So that's what it looks like to me. I do think that we're given the opportunity with all of these relationships to either move towards healing or move towards re-traumatizing.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh, that hit my heart.
Oh, good. Okay, same question to you.
What of this thing of I'm really attuned to unexpressed emotions and that they go really deep and they've been really pushed down and hidden and glossed over and denied, and it can sometimes be overwhelming, and I relish in the knowing that it's just a process and it's slow, and I have a lot of tools and community around me in order to go through.
That's beautiful. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Misty.
Thank you, darling. See you on the next one. And
The next one,
bitch, call your sponsor.
call your sponsor.
Sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Your sponsor.
Call you
Call
sponsor.
your
Call you
sponsor.
sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.